Okay, so let's go very quickly to our, a round again, very quickly from our first presenter. Pavitra, do you feel like, would you like to add anything that you felt kind of was missing in the discussion? Very quickly.
Yes, so I want to confirm that Phoenix AI is ChatGPT, and yeah, and I think I answered all the questions on the chat.
Pavitra, when was that class run? And do you know what version of ChatGPT? Because it's changed a lot over the last 2 years.
Yes, so it was run in the winter semester. So this year, 2026, from January to
Got it.
April. Yeah.
So a great question from Cloda uh, is that perhaps I'll let me just put this to our pizza perhaps. Is that witnessing over time, do you get this feeling that students are becoming less interested in working with others or not?
So the course in which I do group work, it's an elective course. So students are self-selected. They know that they're supposed to do group work, but talking with tutees and talking with other students, I do see a little bit more reluctance for some reason or the other, and I think that's largely comes from part of our students who are genuinely doing well and they worry that others may not have the same level of commitment. That's kind of the key thing that I keep hearing. I'm not sure if everybody else hears that, but I often have a one-to-one with students with similar worries, and sometimes some students, some international students, especially with worries about their speaking skills, and they worry that they are not as good as others, and how to become better and things like that. And I have had these conversations in my course as well.
Amla, floor is yours. Feel free to open up your mic, ask your question.
Thank you, Ramin. This is to all the speakers, panelists. Most of what I saw yesterday and today are related to face-to-face classes, which I had substantial time in doing that. We have opened a new online campus. Have any of you thought about bringing these aspects of your experiments, of your studies, in an online context? The reason I'm asking that is that what we see, there is an increasing demand from students who are full-time workers. They are going for online class. And that's what we have seen in terms of our growth in the last 3.5 years that we have been as a campus, independent campus. So have any of you thought about experimenting with these collaborative aspects in an online environment? And if you have any comments on that, thank you.
Who would like to have a go? John, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I have not considered that all that much. Part of it being that it would be very hard to get enough data from online programs. So is this something that can be done? Absolutely. If you or anyone else is interested in attending future ENI meetings with ideas like this, please feel free to attend. And by the way, even if you're not able to be there in person, a lot of people attend the ENI meetings virtually. So wherever you are in the world, if you have an idea, get connected with ENI. Let us know what your ideas are, and if there's enough interest and potentially enough courses that we can recruit, bring those ideas with you.
And I'll jump in on that too to help out a little bit. We did talk about opening it up to online courses. Um, it was more a discussion about what is a control in online versus face-to-face, and could those be held constant across the two? And we felt like we couldn't do equivalent controls across the two groups. Not to say that we couldn't do a separate project where there's a different control for the online group, but it was just trying to make sure that it was as clean of an experiment as we could. But I do teach online classes as well as face-to-face. And I do use a version of I don't use a full contract. I use suggested guidelines of a contract and have a setup where they come in and meet and do things. And I will say, the ones who read all of the extra support materials you give them online do appreciate it and try and follow through on it, but they're still going to get frustrated because online you still have the people who it doesn't matter how many resources you post for them, they will never read it or look at it or do any of that. But it has given some of them the terminology to approach conversations with their group. And I've noticed them using some of my same phrases that I put in there in their group work. So just from a pedagogy standpoint, I do see some benefits. Anecdotally, not part of this big experiment with actual statistically significant data. So I hope that answers your question.
So we have 5 minutes left. In this 5 minutes, I want to, all the speakers to think about this. Let's finish with something encouraging. So as Doug mentioned yesterday, we're now in the midst of one of the most important shocks to the education, the AI shocks. And that is affecting the collaborative learning, essentially the human aspects of, humans working together. Now, I would like all of our speakers to think of this in the midst of this shock based on your research. Can you say something encouraging about the prospect of collaborative learning? I'll wait for 30 seconds. Think about them. Think about something cheerful to finish this session. Each 1 minute. I go over quickly. Pavitra?
I do think there is potential in these customized GPT that people are using with Socratic AI that can, I think, help level the field in a way for students who are not doing that well. It could help them, I think.
Anastasia?
So I want to make this comment also in this idea of peer mentoring schemes, because one student mentioned that, I think these schemes are becoming redundant in the age of AI, unfortunately or not. And I think it's an open discussion for all of us. My personal opinion is that they aren't. Actually, I think they might be even more important. So we bring people together and be able to use collaborative learning in that sense. But I found it very interesting that someone had mentioned it. So I actually pose it as an open question.
John?
So I think working in groups is very important. This is part of the reason why I really loved embracing the study. I think I'll comment on my own personal experience for a moment. It was not part of the data collected because students work in different groups each week, and so it didn't meet the criteria. But for 1 hour per week, students work in small groups in intro stats, and I see the emotion, I see the happiness, I see that students realize that they can really do more than just passive learning and figure out what the pitfalls are in real time. Working with others can help them think about what they can learn from other people and not just from a chatbot, not just from passive lecture. And so I think that's where we need to consider moving forward in terms of teaching and learning.
Peter, the last saying is yours.
Thank you. Ramin, I think that it's important for us to reflect how we are working with AI nowadays and collaborating with each other. And I think we're becoming more efficient, faster to some extent. And to some extent also, I would say that when it's done with enough human oversight, to some extent also we can be probably more creative to some extent. I'm not saying that, I mean, creativity does go down using AI and there are research around it. I think that we need to be thinking of our students in the same fashion. They will have to use AI, work with others, and still know who to work with and do the kind of a peer assessment that they do as managers or team members and things like that. And I think that we have a world full of possibilities, and we have discussed some of it in yesterday and today about how we can do that better. And I think we are all trying to do that And they do appreciate that. My students really appreciate talking about economics of crime and how AI doesn't do certain things well and certain other things well. So I think we should be all positive that
Thank
it
you.
will be a good thing.
Thank you for that ending note. So I gather there is still room for humans in the classroom, and there's still room for human collaboration. And thank you to our four speakers and our co-authors. Can I ask everyone to join me in giving them a warm CTEL round of applause, please? Thank you.